mindset. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not an expert in either of these. Okay. I'm not an expert at all. So one thing that I think is important is that whenever we like listen to people training on something, whether you know them or not, like my first thought always is, are they the expert on this? Like, how do they know what they're talking about? And that to me can sometimes shut my brain down to learning things. And I've realized like I need to recognize that there are some people who are not experts in things, and I've learned so much from them. In fact, it's what made this whole kind of training come about. So I was thinking tonight we're calling this Be Who You Would Want to Follow. Okay. You be who you would want to follow, not who other people would want to follow. This is about you being who you would follow. And there is a difference. So the first thing I want you guys to think about is, who do you follow on social media? Like, who do you legitimately log into your phone and make sure you go to their accounts, because you don't want to miss a story. You want to read through their posts. You literally like binge watch that person's social media account. Buddy, you gotta get down. You gotta go find daddy, or go find Caden. Go upstairs and find Caden. Not daddy, because he's with the baby. So you know who these accounts are. Like, it's who you will not want to miss their story. It's like you answer their questions in their polls, or you comment on their stuff, or you share their stuff, right? Like, these are legit people that you literally will like catch up on and make it a point to follow on social media. And so they might be someone who's like some mega superstar, right? Or they could be a friend of yours, or they could be someone you know, or it could be someone you don't know, but you follow for a reason. And this is the question: what draws you to them? What is it about them? Is it their knowledge on a subject and how they can teach about it? Is it that they're the kind of account where you're going to hear the inside scoop on the next, latest and greatest gadget or fashion item, or I don't know, conspiracy theory? Like, they have the inside scoop. Maybe there's someone who provokes you to think, or they're an account that posts those like really practical life hacks where you're like, oh my gosh, that just helped my life so much. Maybe there's someone who shares authentic advice. Like, you really want to hear what they would say about relationships, or, whatever, like some sort of advice that they have. Maybe they make you laugh. Maybe there's someone who legitimately entertains you. I have comedians that I follow because they're so funny. Like, Celeste Barber is the most stinking hilarious woman right now to me on social media. I follow her just so I can laugh, right? I follow some accounts because they're like furry kittens. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I just want to see some furry kittens and cats. But when you think about it, and you think about these accounts that you follow, how do you feel when you watch them? Because I want you to think about who you're following, what it is that draws you to them, how you feel when you're watching them. Like, do you feel connected to them? Do you feel educated after consuming their content? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel like you know them? Like, you know what I'm talking about? You follow certain people online and you don't know them at all, but you feel like you know them, right? And sometimes you become friends with them. Like, and some of us on this team, it's like you feel like you know somebody and then you've never met him in person. And then when you meet him in person, you're like, this is weird. Like, hi, nice to meet you, even though I feel like I know you, right? Like, that's what this social media does. It gives you that deep connection. So, I mean, are there times where you feel like you have to share what this person just posted, right? Would you buy what they recommend? I mean, obviously, we know what influencers do. Large, big accounts, they get paid money and they post their pretty pictures, then tell you to go use it with their code or whatever. Like, we know what that kind of influence is, but I'm talking about the kind of accounts that you follow because you genuinely are willing to spend your valuable time consuming what they're putting out there because it brings some value to you. And so that's what I want you guys to like think in your mind. Okay, who are those? Like, let's say there's top 5 social media accounts, and they might be all different types of categories, but those top 5 are like who you definitely go to watch. Like, what draws you to them? What do you feel when you watch them and consume their content? So the question now becomes, how can you become someone you would follow? Not just someone that anybody would follow, right? Like you've become this perfect audience for that person you're following because you're devoted. You're like, you go and share with other people, you're like evangelizing for that social media account, right? So we understand this on this broad level. Like we get this. This isn't new information, but I want you to really think about it, because when you actually start thinking about the accounts you follow and why you follow them, like what is it for you that you like? Because there are some people who are online because they want to zone out. There are some people who are online because they want like quick tips. There are some people who are online because that's where they can have a conversation about something deep here that they can't have with people in real life. You guys know this. There are different accounts that we follow that we probably wouldn't have that kind of relationship with someone in real life in our immediate circle because they're not into it. So the point is drilling it down to figure out what you're into, right? So what do the people that you follow, what are they about? Why are you drawn to them? What do you feel? What's the emotional connection you have when you watch them? And then how can you be someone that you would follow? So you yourself. So I share with my team that like, I feel like social media breaks down into 4 kind of areas, and it's education, entertainment, edification or encouragement, and engagement. Okay. So educating, like this is not just about Monat and a way to get customers, right? Because do you guys remember at Monations last year, Les Brown was talking and he said, people can smell commission breath a mile away. That was like, I wrote that quote down because it was so true. People can tell when you're not being authentic. They can tell when you're trying to get something from them. We know it. We feel it inherently. We know deep down when it just feels icky and salesy. And so when you're online, like this is not just, let's talk about these 4 areas I mentioned. You want to be educating people, you want to be entertaining, you want to be edifying, which is encouraging others, inspiring them, and you want to be engaging with them. So if you have figured out that you are the perfect audience for these people that you follow, now you want to figure out what's your perfect audience. And the reality is they're going to be someone like you. That's just how this works. You don't have to go be someone else. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first we got to talk about bringing value online. So how are you going to bring value? And this is where it gets hard, because we have to think about how are we bringing value to other people's scroll, right? So if we look at the scroll that we have and we look at the value that we feel that we're kind of imbibing as we go through this, let's be honest. And this is hard because we've all done it. I've done it. We've got to move past the whole screenshot and share type of educating. And it's hard to get past that because it feels like, but I'm not good at talking about this, or I don't understand this, whatever. You know what? That's okay. Take the time to learn our products. Take the time to talk about them in your language, in your way of sharing about them in terms of educating. So if you're not into the deep science of it, you don't have to go into the deep science and become some amazing science educator online. That's not what I'm telling you. What I'm saying is when you're talking about educating, it's still the idea of showing people that you know what you're talking about. And if you don't, because all you ever do is screenshot other people's stuff and don't take the time to actually learn it, when someone actually has a question for you and they're ready to buy from you, but they sense that you don't know what you're talking about, one thing could happen, which is you could say, hey, you know what? I'm not quite sure about that. I'm going to check with my team, or I'm going to check with Monat and make sure I have the information, because that's being humble and authentic and saying, I don't really know. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'll get back to you. Right. But showing them you care enough about them and their time that you're going to go serve them by taking the time to learn that in that moment. Or if you continue to act like you don't know what you're talking about, or you can't give them an answer or whatever, you don't take the time to do that, then you will lose that sale. Now, we need to talk about serving people and being realistic about what you're serving them with. And so part of that is your time to educate yourself so you can educate other people. I also think like entertainment is a great like category in social media. And so if you're going to be someone that you would follow, look, I don't follow the dance accounts. I just don't. I'm 42 and a half. I don't dance. Like, that's just not my thing. But guess what? That's okay. But that means I'm probably not going to make some dance reels or TikToks. That's just not me. And that's okay, because if I started trying to do those things, guess what? People that like that might start to follow me, and they're gonna be like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, or this isn't her thing, or that seems really fake, or she's not consistent in that. And so they roll out. Guess what? That's not who I'm trying to connect with, because I won't be able to connect with them long term. So I don't think it's wise to go try and make yourself look like something you're not, because you won't be able to connect with people long term. And that's the engagement part of social media. So if you can't engage with someone on like a real authentic level long term to build relationships with them, then what you're doing is setting up these false followers that are going to drop off and roll out. So the other side of this is edification. And I think there's enough bad news out there, and I think it's worth it figuring out what is your voice when it comes to edifying other people. What is your voice when it comes to encouraging other people? Because I can speak from my life, but my experiences are going to put a flavor on how I give encouragement. And that's good. And that's what we want. So we don't want you guys to just post people's inspirational quotes. We all do it, right? But really drill down into why. Like, if you're going to share an inspirational quote, maybe share why it hits you, right? Because I love when I see someone post something like that and then they share why it hits them. I'm like, yes, that's awesome. I get that. Or wow, I didn't know that about them. And so the idea is we want to serve people, right? Like, we want to serve them by offering them solutions to their issues, serve them by bringing value to them online. But we have to think about what is the value that we're bringing to their lives if they're coming to our scroll. Like, would you follow yourself? Because I'm going to tell you right now, the past month, I wouldn't follow myself. Or if I did, I'd probably like scroll on by, because I haven't been lately bringing value to my social media. I just haven't. I've been lazy. I mean, let's be really honest with ourselves. There are times when it's chaos, right? Okay, Allie's moving, right? That's one thing. But there are times when there's chaos in your life, and sometimes it's internal chaos, and sometimes it is mental chaos, and sometimes it's just life exhaustion chaos. That's real. We get that. But sometimes, if we're really honest, it's straight up laziness, or number two, and this is where we're getting to the whole mindset part, it's how you actually believe about yourself and if you're worth it for someone to follow. And that starts to get into some deep mindset stuff that can be really hard to face, but it's really good to grow in this area. So what I want to say about this is, when it comes to mindset stuff, look, you don't have to change who you are. You don't have to change who you are, right? Like, I've heard this so many times, like, there's no special formula for social selling, because if there was, then everyone would be doing that formula and everyone would be succeeding, right? I mean, there's a lot of people selling formulas out there, but people have followed lots of different formulas and have not been successful. So what is the difference? What's happening? There are people who can give you all these formulas for social media, but there's one key component that is like all of your success hinges on this one key thing. And that is believing that there's no special formula for success, because the formula itself is you. Like, the formula is you being yourself online. And this is hard. It's very hard when we live in a culture of always comparing ourselves to others. And I'm telling you right now, in your mind, you might already be thinking of girls who do Monat, who make more money than you, who have a higher rank than you, who have a bigger following than you, who have a better social media than you. And you're comparing and you're comparing and you're comparing to someone else who is not you, who doesn't have your life, who doesn't have your history, your experiences, who doesn't have your story, doesn't have your story. So please, you don't know them. Don't try to just be like them. Don't copy them. Be you. This is what I'm talking about the most right now, is the authenticity. And I think when you are authentic with yourself to figure out what it is that you like about the accounts you're following, why you follow them, how they make you feel, when you start getting authentic about that with yourself, then you can also start being really authentic yourself online to be someone you would follow. So talk about what you want to talk about, not what you think other people want to hear. Okay. Talk about what you want to talk about, not what you think other people want to hear, not what you think someone else who does Monat is doing. You don't have to talk about the same stuff, or you don't have to do it the way they do. That's okay. You don't have to. That's not we don't want cookie cutters. Like, I'm sure you don't follow cookie cutters, or maybe you do, and you've noticed when they're cookie cutters and you say, and you back off from it, right? So you might be into exercise, you might be into a specific genre of music, politics, cooking, relationship advice, mom tips, whatever it is, like whatever it is, make those things what you post about. Your account should not be all Monat. It also shouldn't be no Monat, because here's the reality. If you don't talk about it, you aren't going to have a business. Like, if you aren't sharing, you won't have a business. And if you're afraid and you're like, well, I don't know what to post, I'm telling you right now, here's how you post. By being yourself and figuring out who you are. Are you the kind of person that's good at educating? Then when a new product comes out, go learn all about it, because you're nerdy like that and you like to read all the stuff and watch all the videos and learn all the terms and make your great little graphics and come on and do live videos. And sorry to say, everything's moving to video, but you're going to have to start learning how to get on video and make videos talking about it because you like to teach people about something. Or maybe you're really good at encouraging other people. Listen, start talking about what this business is doing for you. And you know what? It's okay if this business isn't making you tons of money. It's okay. You can still talk about what it's doing for you. And hopefully it's doing something in your mind for your mindset. It's doing something in your heart for loving other people and serving them. Maybe it's changing how you think about your role in your family, how you serve other people. I mean, these are things you can talk about. Why can't you talk about that? Those are things we can absolutely share. Being entertaining. Look, there are some of you who are going to be amazing at making awesome reels. There's a girl on my team, Mara, who makes the most hilarious reels I've ever seen. I don't know how she does it, because she has 2 little ones and she's home with them and she watches other people's kids too. And yet she comes up with hilarious stuff. I would love to be like that. Maybe I could have 20 years ago, but I'm not like that anymore. And that's okay. That's okay. I share her stuff when it's funny as crap, and I share the things I think are funny. And sometimes my life is entertaining just because of my mishaps or whatever. But that's what I mean about being authentic. And so let me go back. I want to make sure I covered everything. I really just think, for me, this past month, I've really thought about the main question of, why do I follow the people I follow? What am I like? Why am I choosing to spend my time there? And I've like cut so many accounts. Like, I've muted them just so I'm still friends with them or whatever, but I've muted people or just don't follow them as often because they don't bring value to my life. And I want them to feel that way about me. Like, I don't want to be cut and edited out from someone's life. I want to be able to bring value, because when you, and this is the key thing, authenticity is magnetic to those who are your perfect audience. You're being authentic about something doesn't necessarily mean everyone is gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's so real, I love her, because they might be like, ooh, she's really real about that, or she's really real about that, and that doesn't like vibe with them at all. When they resonate with you, then they trust you, and when they trust you, you can serve them. And that serving them is going to look like you offering them solutions to their problems. But to even get to that level of engagement with someone on a one-to-one level, you have to first be so authentic online that you're getting the right people following you. Because if you have a following of 10,000 people, but they're not really connected to you, and they don't literally log in because they want to see what you're doing or what you're talking about, then it doesn't matter. That you're literally like standing with a megaphone at a huge stadium of people. That's not what our social sell. That's not going to bring you success in social selling. So I'm not an expert on social media. I'm just sharing with you what I was convicted with this past week, in feeling like, or not this week, it's really been this month, but really feeling like, would I be someone that I would follow? Am I someone I would be interested in? Because those are the people you want. You want people like yourself. And I know it sounds crazy, because out in real life, like, I wouldn't want to be surrounded by just myself in real life, right? But social life is different. Who you follow online, it's different. And it's okay that it's different. It's okay. So in my real life, I want to have variety of friends and what we talk about and different interests and all. But on my social media life, I'm okay with finding my tribe, finding people that resonate with me, that are going to click with me, whatever. Okay. And that's what I feel like I finally settled into is, you know what? I'm not out there to make my social media presence this amazing copycat of other people that are doing the same type of business we're doing. I realized heavily that I just want to be someone that I would follow. Because if I'm someone I would follow, then others are going to follow who are like me, who are going to connect with the things I say, and who are going to trust me, and who are ultimately going to say, hey, so what is this hair stuff you're doing? Tell me about the wellness stuff. Are you, do you have something for this for skin? Or like recently has happened, I've had 2 or 3 people just out of the blue. I never thought that they would be interested in this. And they said, I'm kind of like, I'm curious. I want to talk to you maybe in a few days about this business that you're doing. And it's like, oh, this is like what you want. But I will say this, one of the things I've learned from gardening, how many of you guys have gardened before? Because I am new to gardening and I am learning a lot. I've actually chosen to do this because I really needed it for myself to teach myself discipline. Obviously I care for children. Like I'm not so undisciplined that I can't handle caring for things, but like the idea of tending a garden, I'm like, there's so much I can learn from this. I'm going to do this. So I'm doing it. And one of the things that I've recognized for myself that my tendency is I always like have to have things absolutely perfect before I move forward. And that has killed me because it made me start my garden late. It made me wait too long to move plants from like seed to outside to in the garden, whatever. All these little like hangups that I've had were my hang up about perfection. And so I hope that you guys can resonate with me on that and feeling that like, I know what you mean. I always feel like things have to be perfect before I go do it. Like I have to have good lighting. I have to have, my hair done, my makeup done. I have to, whatever, you have to be in a good mood. And it's hard because we are selling hair stuff. So it's hard to like go online if you feel like your hair is crazy or if you're having a bad skin day. But the reality is, guys, we need to be really authentic because nobody wants to see perfect all the time. Nobody does. Not even the girls that look perfect, that act perfect, want to see perfect all the time. Let's be real. So authenticity is magnetic to those who are your perfect audience. And guess what? If someone doesn't like your authenticity and they stop following you, it's okay. It's okay. Like that's actually dead weight coming off. That's good. So I hope that you guys really think about 2 things. One, in the social side, which is weird because you're like putting yourself out there in this social media platform and you're like presenting yourself. And look, it's not, you can't be 100% authentic because you're literally putting yourself on a camera, talking to a camera. Like we get that part of it. But I hope that you guys really think about 2 things. The mindset side of this is really actually believing that you are worth following, that you are worth listening to, and that you are worth having people gather to hear what you have to say or see what you're talking about or ride alongside of you through a really emotional moment or sharing your good news. Like you are worth that. So don't hide for fear of, well, no one's gonna care or no one's gonna listen. Look, I put stuff out there sometimes and no one responds. I put questions out there and no one replies. I've shared some really raw stuff before and I get crickets. But just like with a garden, and you plant that seed and you don't see the fruit until long after. There have been so many instances where people have come to me later and said, oh yeah, I remember when you went through blah, blah, blah. That was like, man, I just really, I gained respect for you in this way or whatever. Or yeah, I remember when you shared about that, blah, blah, blah. That was really cool. Can you tell me more about that? Because it seemed like you knew what you're talking about. I'm like, but it seemed like no one was listening to me at that point. But that's not, you can't get hung up on that side of it. So believe that you are worth it, that you are worth other people's time, because when you actually start to believe that you're worth other people's time, you also start showing up in a different way. And I don't mean changing who you are. I mean getting like really authentic and really becoming yourself and realizing it is you that is the magic formula. And so by becoming more yourself and getting more confidence in yourself in that way, you literally are going to be able to serve more and more people. And guess what? Sometimes that serving means they don't go with Monat. and that's okay. Like you're serving them. And that's the key thing here, because when you have a heart of service, I believe it comes back to you tenfold. And, they might not take your products, but they might share you with someone. And if they're like totally in love with your account, love following you, they might share you with somebody else. And that now you've hit into their network. And now you've got somebody that another social network that you're connected to. You know what I mean? So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. That's where I've been really like challenging myself. Be who you want to follow. And I think it translates to the rest of your life too, really. I mean, be who you want your kids to be, right? Like you want the best things for your kids. Be that. Be that partner that you wished your partner was. Be the friend that you wished your friends were. All these things, like just be who you would want to be friends with, that you would want to work with, that you would want to follow on social media. Be who you would want to follow on a team. I mean, think about that. This is like working on yourself. And it sounds so hokey and cheesy to talk about like self-development all the time. But the reality is, the more in tune you come with yourself and become authentic, it's magnetic to those who are your perfect audience. It just is. It's going to be magnetic to those who are going to join you in this business and run alongside you. So it's 9:30. I don't want to make this a super long call, but I am totally like cool if you guys want to like chat, like if anybody wants to come off mute, if you guys have thoughts. Oh, I got a twin heart. So seriously, if anybody has anything they want to add, please do, because I know we're all in this together and we're all in different journeys and we're all coming from different backgrounds, but I think wisdom is found everywhere. So I'm sure if you guys have a question or a thought and you want to share it, just unmute and share it. Otherwise, we can sign off.
I have a quick question, Kimberly, because I was
Rebecca.
a little bit late. You said educate, entertain, edify. Was there one more?
Engage.
Thank you. I was like,
yeah, like those, because like when I tried to make training a couple years ago for like when new people join my team. And I was like, how can I like boil this down? I really started thinking like, these are kind of them to me. And I don't know, there could be more, and please, I am open to hearing what they are. But for me, I boiled it down to those four. And I'm like, okay. And it's not equal. That's the other thing. I don't feel like if you had a pie chart, it's not like 25% education, 25%. It's not equal. Everyone's little pie chart of those things is different, and it should be, right? Like there are some people who are really good at educating, and there are some people who are going to share the education side, but it is stretching them to their max to do that because it's hard for them, right? And that's okay. But I still feel like those are like good areas. So it doesn't mean we have to be good at all four of those or that it has to be equal. Like I made 12 posts this month and 3 were this and 3 were that, right? Like that's getting locked into a formula, and you're locking yourself into something that could potentially not be authentic to you. But yeah, those were the 4. And I feel like one thing I will say is like, I feel like they kind of all funnel down to engagement. Like your goal would be engagement, so.
Yeah. And I feel like you said before, with like the perfectionist, that's where I get stuck. And I'm like, well, if I don't have, on Monday, I do educate, on Tuesday, I do engage, and on Thursday or Wednesday, I do edify, and then I repeat. And then I don't do it. And then I'm like, well, I've lost my pattern. I can't move forward. And it's like, well quit. That's what. Exactly.
Yeah, it is. I do the same thing. So, I'm like, well, I'm not in a rhythm, so whatever. And I'm the worst. I'll be like, I'm going to do a series because it's going to force me for consistency. So I'm going to do a 5-part video on this, and I'll get to like 3. And then I'm like, I do this every time, right? I do it. Guess who cares? Do you think someone's sitting back like, oh my gosh, she only did 3 of her 5 videos? You know what? If that's who then they can leave. I don't care.
And if they really care, they'll reach out and they'll be like, okay, I'm waiting on number 4. And that will inspire you to, because you'll like, okay, someone wants what I'm putting out, but it's hard when you're like, you get to point 3 and you're like, no one has commented on a dang thing. They must hate this. And you spiral
that is true.
I spiral very quickly.
I spiral very quickly. And I found that the most of the time that I'm spiraling out is because I'm depending on the engagement from others for validation.
Exactly. 100.
It is hard. That is like my tendency as a person. I'm a people pleaser. I'm a Enneagram number 2. I'm a, I'm an empath. like all these things that is so concerned with what people think. And that's very hard for me when I say stuff and it's crickets. And I'm like, man, I just spent a lot of time on that. Or like, I just poured my heart out on that. And then you don't get anything back. It is, or you get stuff back from your close friends and you're like, they don't even care what I really said. They're just being nice. Or it's a team person who's like, well, rah, and you're like, yeah, I know, but you think the same thing. So that, I think what happens is when we get into that groove of getting the right people that follow you, that do really resonate with you, and you need, like, if you're the kind of person that needs that feedback, like I really thrive on that kind of feedback, then I think that it'll start to happen. But it's hard when you're not there, because I'm not there. Like, and I do, like, that feedback is huge for me and it's very hard. But for me right now, I'm also recognizing that's my biggest growth area, is that I need to let go of the results. And you know this, Rebecca, like we've both done stuff with Bob Heilig, and like I need to let go of the results and not focus on the results. I need to focus on the process, because the process itself is what's going to refine me and make me who I want to be. And then when I am who I want to be, I'm in the best position to serve other people. I'm in the best position to, share about this business. I'm in the best position to show up to help a team. Like and it's hard, because it's hard work to look into yourself and kind of assess the areas that are not up to par that you'd like them to be. So, yep, I'm with you on that. I also think it's hard when social media seems to change every day and you're just like, what? Like either there's something new technologically, or like Instagram announcing that they're no longer photo sharing and that they're focusing on video. And like, we kind of know these things are coming down the road, but then it happens and you're like, okay. So to keep up with some of these things, like you gotta sometimes jump into an area that's difficult. And look, I'm just glad I never joined direct sales type stuff 10, 15, 20 years ago, because I was approached all the time. And I love talking to people in person. But if my whole life and schedule depended on physical in-person stuff on a weekly basis all the time, I would never see my kids. So I am grateful for this platform, and I am willing to take the challenges that come with it. And I think what's hard right now with businesses is if you're feeling stuck and if you're feeling like you're not getting results and you're focused on the results, but you're also not willing to do the work it takes. Like it would be like me looking at this new garden that I'm trying to do and not watering it and not tending it and not looking for pests I'm doing soil tests, y'all, to like figure out what chemicals I need to add to like make sure this works. But if I wasn't doing any of that, and then at the end of the summer, I'm like, I didn't get anything, that'd be whiny. It'd be bratty. I mean, it would be absurd. People would be like, well, you didn't work on your garden. Of course, you're not going to have a harvest. And yet that's obvious to us when it's something like a garden. It's obvious to us when it's something like your body, where there's this physical, like, oh, I got to work out and eat healthy. And then if you don't, of course, you're not going to have results. We know that. But then when it comes to social media, which look, let's be honest, we are in social selling. Okay. We're in social selling. Our main platform is social media. Yes, it's also in person, and we need to get back to that, especially if you're in a state that's a lot more open. But even getting people to get back in that rhythm of in person has been difficult. I thought everyone would jump on like little get-togethers, and it's not. They're not. So social media is still kind of my main thing here. And so recognizing that this is an area I have to do the work. I can't think that I'm going to throw out a couple seeds and come back and have a harvest. We have to do the work. And so some of that is, for me, the work is trotting through posting without people commenting back or answering questions, or, getting ghosted or whatever. If you have a conversation with someone and then suddenly like they're never there again, like those kinds of things. That's part of the growing pains of having to work this business. And so if we're like saying we're stuck and we're just not having any success, and if you are like truly tending your garden and you are doing like the work every single day with what you need to do in various aspects to tend your garden to bring up a harvest, and then you're still having problems, that's different. I'm talking about when we're real with ourselves and we know. And that's what my issue has been. I know this year, like my goal was not to be at this point in July. I had way different goals, but guess what? I wasn't doing the work for it. And a lot of that was mindset. So it was me getting in negative feedback loops with myself and spiraling out and then just not doing anything and then being like, well, this month, oh well. And it'd be like the first week. Those are dumb things to do. You're killing yourself in it. So anybody else?
I'm just going to say thank you. I'm at Andrea's tonight because this weekend we're doing a little retreat for some girls in our downline.
Oh.
And one of the things we're going to talk about is social media. There's some girls in our downline who just I think got comfortable. Oh no, hold on. Are y'all there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on Andrea's phone because my phone died.
Yeah.
And we have some girls that just got comfortable with doing lives. But Reels is like the thing now. So we're going to do some training on some Reels and some things that probably don't feel comfortable yet. But that's okay. We're going to do it all together. So it's less pressure. So
Yeah. I
Cool
mean,
thing about Reels. Go ahead, Kimberly.
I was gonna say that's the hard part is like, it's just, and this is the thing I would say with those girls, it's like, hey, if you look what you did, you were able to go live and now you're comfortable with being live. You can do this. It's just the next thing. It's just the next step. Take the next step, just the one little step, one day at a time, all these things, like anything, any physical trainer, anybody who's coming out of recovery or coming into recovery out of addiction, anyone who's looking at a garden, gardeners always will tell you, this is my learning year. They all say that. I'm like, really? I thought that was just me. I didn't know that. Okay, yeah. But it's that one day at a time thing. So it's one thing at a time. So they just made it through getting live. They can do Reels. And I say that to myself because I'm like, I got to figure out just the tech side of it, So I think hopefully you guys are, in that same, like I'm in the thick of it right now, trying to figure it out. So hopefully you guys are there with me because I feel it. But
listen,
okay,
yesterday, was it yesterday? I don't know. My life's crazy. Yesterday, or the day before, I did one where I was in the shower talking about shampooing. So like, I feel like if I can do one in the shower, anybody else can jump in the shower and video themselves.
I'm going to wash my hair this weekend, probably, hopefully, and I'm going to record it. I'm going to put my black sports bra on that comes up to here. So I'm like covered and I'm going to do it because you do it.
Oh, good.
But I need to do one too, because
thank you guys so much.
I did a face wash one, but I need to do like an actual in the shower hair one. And I think it's one of those things where I think the shower is the hardest one because like that's legitimately like such an intimate space. And so it feels so weird to be in there and teaching. So that's completely fair. I think that's a very hard one. But then again, if we can all get through that, then right. So
Monica Hobbs, her Instagram is that curly girl Monica.
Yes.
She does them all the time.
She does.
And I'm obsessed with her. I'm like, can I be her best friend? And like have her hair too, but friends is cool for now. But like she does them all the time and she makes them like, I think she does them and then she does a voiceover later.
Yes.
So it's not like you're in the shower talking and that's a little weird, but like she can speed it up and slow it down. And and so I've been meaning to make one for years and I just haven't.
And that's okay. So that's an interesting thing to notice also is that I think it's okay to learn from other people of what is working. Like that's a good point. So in a shower video, you could do it where you're actually talking, or you could do it where you are not talking and you've taken this tip basically from someone else. It doesn't mean you're copying her, right? But you're saying, oh, I like the way that they approach that and doing it. So the weird thing is,
right, like I hadn't even thought about that, but like trying to like do some parts in the shower yesterday and then like record and then stop and come back was so difficult.
It is hard.
I feel like, wow, that's an amazing tip. I'm gonna try that next time.
But like that, but those are things that it's okay to learn from other people. And I think that's like that's different. That's inspiration, versus copying. Although it's totally weird because both TikTok and the Reels now with the remix of Reels on Instagram and like this whole idea that you're gonna like do the same thing, or I don't know. It is kind of like,
isn't that weird?
I don't know. I've never understood why a TikTok dance gets popular and then everybody and their mother does it for the next 3 months. Like I see, whatever. I'm aging myself with that because I literally just can say, I don't get it.
You're not aging yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Christina Smallwood also does some good in shower videos.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like I like her angles are really cool.
Yeah,
So-
that's the thing. What's a good angle? Look, and it's good to share these kinds of things and teach your team and be like, okay,
Mhm.
guys, like this is not flattering. Like this is not flattering. You know, and teaching them that they can put a ring light around whatever and that it changes based on location. That's all basic stuff. That's good, but you know, also we can get really caught up in the details and caught up in the technical side of things, and sometimes we let that get us so caught up that we get stuck in the perfection route, and then when we're stuck on the perfection thing, we don't do anything. So it's actually in scripture. It's in Ecclesiastes, and it says, if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never get anything done. And it's actually a verse that's referencing, it's kind of in like a agricultural context, you know, but the reality is it's true for all of us. If you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never get anything done. So be perfectly imperfect, be yourself, be authentic. It's magnetic. It's going to be perfect for those that are going to resonate with you, and then you can serve them. So does someone, okay. Oh yes, I can take a picture.
Thank you. I don't know where I put my phone. It's gone.
Hold on, I'll get it. I'm gonna have to do it through my, I'll do it over here. No.
Andrea said she took some pictures earlier, so
Oh,
we can
cool.
still smile.
All right, we can smile. Wait,
I said, oh, good. And then I realized I was muted.
just smile. All right, girls. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Kimberly. This was really, really good.
Good. All right, guys. Well, have a good week. We'll see you around.